What's good, everyone? This is your man Z, and welcome to Passport to the Pros again. Like we promised you, our podcast won't be only sharing stories, it will add also another layers to help the audience get the best out of the podcast, enjoy it. But not only that, we're going to use our stories and our experts to help you and lead the way for a better future if you are chasing the dream of basketball. Luckily enough, through this journey, a lot of people stepped to help us grow the podcast. And today, I'm more than happy to welcome a new member of the family who really adding his touch already to our podcast, and hopefully together will add a whole new aspect and a whole new perspective on the game and the podcast in general. Um, our guest today, he's a journalist. He's the founder of SideKix Media, and he had a very unique experience where he so knowledgeable and an expert in the basketball as well as the media as well. So we want to welcome Mike. Mike, welcome to the family. How are you?
Thank you, Z. Thank you, Z. I'm so happy to be here. Seriously, I've been following the podcast since it started. Listened to a few of the past episodes in the last few days, and I think it's such a positive message, and I
Mhm.
really am humbled to be part of it. We've known each other a few years now, and we always got along, played basketball together.
Right.
Have a little bit of an overlap with Syria, and again, I just think there's so many people I think that want to get into sports and they don't know how, and I really feel that this podcast, in addition just to the stories that you guys are telling, which are awesome, um, that it can really add value to the lives of those people who are trying to do something. And I think there's so much potential when it comes to, maybe it's not even just a player. Maybe people want to get in. How do you get into be a trainer for a professional organization? How do you get into coaching? So I really think what you guys started has been great. I want to give some props to Patrick. Honestly, I heard him on the past podcasts, and he really started something great with you guys. And I hope he can come back at some point because I think he brought a lot of value. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, man. This is
Man,
a great
yeah.
opportunity.
You said it all. First of all, meeting you like when we started playing basketball. By the way, when I moved here to Virginia, there's this group of basketball player, retired basketball player who gather and play. And for me, that was like the outlet for me to get back to the game again. And I made sure to play on the same team with you all the time. You're a great rebounder. You bring such a great energy to the team. But then I start to know more about you and the other side away from basketball. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Thank you for the nice words about the podcast in general. Patrick been great all along the way. I think this family is just growing more. So welcome and let's get to it, man.
Let's get to it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, big week in the NBA with the NBA Cup. So I think that was sort of where we wanted to start. And
Yes.
just sort of recap the game. We both watched it, not together this time, but next time for sure. Um, Honestly, man, I think it was a great game. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. The Spurs looked good. They controlled it for. It looks like they were in control for the first three quarters. Uh, Wemby, maybe not his best game, but he came in strong. In the third, we got to see really what he's about. This guy is just continues to do things that,
It's insane.
honestly, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say we've never seen it, but it does feel like we've never seen it in a way.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Castle, just Castle, Vassell, the Knicks. Funny enough, I found myself thinking about the Spurs more than the Knicks after this game. I don't know about you, but
Well, the same. I agree with you. I mean, the game was fun to watch. Um, recently you gotta wait until the really playoff to see a really good game like this, like
Mhm.
beautiful basketball. Uh, most of the players, if not all the players, were fighting on both teams just to make, to make a statement and win this cup game. I think overall it's a great idea. Some people say, "Oh, it's an extra game." So I don't agree with that. I think the game needed. If we watch Europe basketball or all around the world, there's always the league and the cup games. And I think it started kind of, we can see it this year. It started to become a big deal. It's not like, okay, it's the money, which is we'll talk about later. It's a huge part of it. But also it's a chance for you to make a statement early in the season, test what you have, see your weapons, see if everything going well for you or not. And in my perspective, soon we're gonna see, oh, who's the team who's gonna win a league and the cup in the same year. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see who's gonna make that history. So I think overall, it's a great for the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that is really what the NBA was going for, from my understanding. And there's always viewership was low in December, just because people are still following the NFL.
Absolutely.
There's too much up in the air in terms of who's ahead, who's behind. Not enough games have been played. So I really think it achieved its objective, in trying to draw people in. Um, and I mean, we were talking about it the other day. You were with the NBA. When we were talking, you said how this was something that was just starting, and I was
There's
really wondering, like, what was the buzz, in that NBA professional atmosphere about this? Like, where was it just pure optimism? As you know, there was some negativity. It's too many games. It's a little bit fluky. I agree with you. I think it's established. I mean, I really got into it. I have nothing bad to say about it. The only thing that bothered me last year was those courts. I felt it was a little
right.
jarring, but I feel they pulled back a little bit on how intense they got, so it just felt like watching a regular game. But yeah, no, that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, what was the sense and the feeling around it when it was like just starting off at the NBA?
I mean, I wasn't around the discussion before they started, but I was there for the first year when it just started. And people need to understand something. The NBA is such a great organization, and it's big, and it's like now it's international, like all around the world. But we all are human at the end. We have to come up with the idea, do a lot of research to know, okay, are we able to do it? But once we do it, we're gonna have some hiccups like the courts and stuff like this. But that's the fun part about it. We're human, we'll work around it. And I think they like, I'm sure they heard it from a lot of people, but they fix it this year. A lot of, I think we've seen this year like the best version of the cup, NBA cup, Emirates Cup this year. Of course there was a lot of push from multiple sides to make sure it happened the best way possible. I think having it in Vegas also added that little story to it, and with the
Mhm.
trailer and everything. um, People need to keep in mind one thing: NBA at the end, it's a sport, but it's entertainment too.
Mhm.
So it has to be entertaining for families, for people who love sport, for people who doesn't know much probably about basketball, but when you watch it, you'll be like, I'm being entertained right now.
Mhm.
So it's I always like to bring this aspect so people keep in mind it's not always emotional. It's business. There is a lot of money behind this. So we wanted to be presented the best way possible, not only for us but for the whole world. So I agree with you. I have nothing to say against the NBA Cup. We can dive more into the team, but if the setup, I think it was a great setup, and I think it's just only can get better from here.
I agree, 100%. And then, like, just you brought up the business side of it. Obviously, most people, not most people, a lot of people, highlight the financial aspect of this game, of giving the players the incentive, and you know, that 500,000, to the superstars, maybe doesn't necessarily mean as much, but for the two-way players, the people that are just got in, um, obviously it means a lot. Um, but then this was also something that we had talked about, which I'd love to hear your thoughts on, which is what does $500,000 at the end of the day really look like to that player? You know,
That's
like
that's
we hear
that's a
those.
great question. Yeah. So we have to see it like you said from multiple point of view. And like you said, all these big time stars, you probably think they make like 20 million, 10 million, 15 million a year, whatever. It's what's gonna add to it. No, trust me, it add a lot to it. And for a player like, bench players, some of them are making $4 or $5 million a year. So you give them that extra 500, it means a lot. And people don't really know that this $5 million salary, it's not a really $5 million. There is taxes, there is a lot of stuff involved. People think, oh, players get this X amount of money, and how do they go broke? How do they lose all that money? Well, first of all, don't judge them on the whole amount, because it's never like this. In NBA, it's like, as an NBA player, it's like you have to pay a lot of things to get to the point where the rest goes for you. There is taxes, and taxes are different from a city to another. Then you have your agent. Agent usually collects between like 4 or 5%. You can negotiate it, go down to 2%, but at the end he's going almost around 4%. There is some money you pay for the player association. Every year all the player pays some fees, those to help later with retirement and health insurance and stuff like this. So, and you have to pay your staff. As an NBA player, you're not on your own. You're not going to LA Fitness on your own just to hoop and play. You have your financial advisor who by himself collects 1 to 2%. You have your trainer. You have the people around you. You have family member you take care of to help you. So at the end, out of this $5 million, you probably taking 1.5 million.
Oh,
Imagine, out of 5 million. And then you live in a life like somebody who's getting paid $5 million. So all these cars and all like those mansions, couple of girlfriends and stuff like this. At the end, on paper, you are a big time millionaire, but in real life, that's not how it is. I remember a really great story. We were doing some work with the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they want to have NBA now do like some type of classes. They call it like player development off the court, which is help players who are about to retire to figure out their next step in their career, help player how to use their money wisely and not go broke. Average average life for an NBA player after retiring before he go broke is 4 years. So the moment you retire, most likely in 4 years you're gonna be broke. And
oof.
this is not like sometimes, that's most of the time. Because the problem also, every month or every couple of weeks, you have this massive paycheck. So your spending habits, your lifestyle, everything depending on this check. And then suddenly this check is not available. And you weren't ready for it. And with all my respect, doesn't matter your education, doesn't matter where you come from, who is ready to handle all this money right away and then none of it right after. So the NBA try to take initiatives by helping players when they retire to figure out their purpose, because sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes you just lose your purpose of what I want to do after I retire. And also help players how to use their money. So to go back to our point, they brought an financial advisor to help the player understand this money aspect, and she brought with her $1 million cash. And we were sitting down. She put it right on the table. People like, what the hell is she doing? She put the $1 million. She was like, let's say this is your salary for the year or like for the next few weeks or whatever. She started to take out of it like taxes. This is goes. This person, this goes. And then you see the final amount that really left it from the $1 million you have. And you're like, oh shit, like if I don't really watch out, like I'm broke. And this is the reality. So 500,000 extra just like this as a bonus. I don't know what the tax is about it, but that's the pure money to your pocket. So it means a lot. I think you can see it motivate the players. Sometimes it's not the amount itself, but if me and you play, whoever gonna lose gonna pay for dinner. man, I'm like fighting you to death, man. It doesn't matter. So
Believe
I
it.
think it's working. And by the way, this is my take, and I'll remind you, a lot of people will adopt this take, and hopefully someone will hear it. They should do the same for the All-Star game. If we put really some good money on a dunking contest, all this stuff, involve some money in the All-Star to make, because for the players, fans were like, we want to see the player playing, doing all stuff. But for a player, I might get injured here. I'm here to, just an extra. While everybody's resting and preparing for the rest of the season, I'm here for 3 days week with the weekend, doing all this TV stuff, all this fun stuff. It's draining. For someone like Steph Curry or even LeBron or Luca, man, I could use this time to be, resting or, work on myself more. So I think in the future, if some money can be involved just to add more excitement to the All Star, it will show a good return, just like it showed on the Cup games.
Yeah, no, I believe that for sure. I think at some point, yeah, an episode dedicated just to the All Star Weekend is needed. But I
Yeah.
think this year, if I'm not incorrect, they are finally doing the international versus U.S.
This is
That
this year. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
yeah,
Which
that'll
is,
be good.
there's a lot of questions around it. I try to call my, mentors and people in the NBA to ask as much questions as possible. Uh, I'm hoping, I don't know if I can be there for the All Star, but if I'm there, I'll see everything in my own eyes and report to you guys and tell you how it looked. But I think overall, uh, there is potential to be, a little bit more exciting because as we know, and by the way, our podcast should or hopefully will focus on those points. The game is more international than ever.
Hmm.
Last year, I don't know about this year, but I'll tell you this specific number last year, 29.8% of the league were international player. And I'm sure this year probably up to 30 to 32% of the league is international. Uh, every staff in the NBA have one or two international people on their roster. So the game is more international than ever. And for the NBA league office, that's exactly what we looked for. Because for USA, this is the main game that we export to all the world. Not everybody play American football. Not everybody play baseball, but the whole world play basketball. And they love basketball. So make an all-star game international against American, because let me tell you, I hear what's the talk in the locker room too. A lot of American players like, who the hell is these kids coming here taking my job? At the end of the day, and don't get me wrong, international players are amazing. Coaches love international players. They like to play defense. Sorry to say, easier to coach. And at the end of the day, he have they come hungry. That's, as international people, you and I who've been on the other side of the world, you dream of a moment to be in the NBA game. So how about you performing right now and being on the court? So those kids, they come hungry. And if you see a lot of NBA teams who are in the final or getting to the final, they have a lot of international player on their roster. So I think this is the time for us international people to take over. But American people, the one who create this game, and they're not gonna let it slide just like this. So
Yeah.
hopefully that will add fuel to the All Star game, and we'll see how it goes.
No, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good. They're like good competition is always fun, and the All Star game has sort of been I think it peaked in the 90s. You know what I mean? I feel it peaked at that Vince Carter dunk contest. We were spoiled by that dunk contest, and nothing has really been the same since. There's been a few good ones. Um, but I agree. I like this move. And you're so right about the international. And I mean, I wasn't expecting to talk about it on this podcast, but I think it's a bigger topic, but maybe we can dip into it right now, which is like, that's what I've heard, that it's the difference between the development style, let's say in Europe, where there's so much practice dedicated to the teams, versus AAU in the United States, which is so much focused on games, which means more about stats, which means players are trying to jump to different teams to get more playing time. which a lot of people could say that's reflected in how the NBA developed for a while over the past few years. And I guess is that something you've seen, and is that an accurate assessment that, and could that be one of the reasons why so many international stars are really shining in the NBA more? I don't want to say more than Americans, but I mean, given their proportion of for the total players in the league, they're definitely overperforming in terms of like a group of players.
Well, you're 100% right. Uh, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying. And like you said, I even didn't expect to talk about this now, but like you said before, I think soon we're gonna have multiple episodes, each one dedicated to a certain subject, like salary cap, so people understand how this salary works and how players can move between the teams. We'll focus on operation more, and we'll focus on, like you said, the international aspect. So later we'll have more specific episode about each topic, so to be easy and focus on one point. But you're 100% right. First thing I noticed that, oh, there is a huge gap in for those young kids coming up to the league. Like in Europe, we're like we both know, it's always academy. There's academies and there's, teams for the same team, but like under 14, under 18, all this. That gives an, an crazy amount of development for the player. You're working on your skills, you're working on it, the teams, the plays. So you are basically like Luca. Luca was 16, was playing in the final with Real Madrid. Oh my God, like he come to the league here like, oh, it's a piece of cake for me. So here the problem more, like you say, AAU, it's all about ranking. So all I care about is to go play, score as much as possible, move between the teams so my ranking get higher. So when I go to the draft, I'm one of the top people who are projected to be really good, where there is not much development working at that time. One of my favorite mentors, his name David Booth, and he's the NBA vice president for the operation. I asked him that question. I was like, "Don't you think we have?" He was like, "No, you're right. We do have it." And this person know everything about basketball, know all the teams, all the players, been internationally. He's an amazing person. I can spend a day talk about how great he is. And he told me, he was like, "I've seen it. They call it, it's like the grassroots for us here. It's not really working well. Uh, there is not much idea about how we're going to change this right now, because like you
Mhm.
said, it's a culture too. The way we play the game is completely different than they play it overseas. So will one day we're going to see academies taking over, and those teams have more like academies for the younger kid to prepare on skill level and mentality and everything. I hope so, but how realistic is that, especially now with all this NIL money? It's getting tricky. I mean, I'm happy for the kids to make money, but I mean, we all agree sometimes too much money at early age is, it's really not good. Like
Mhm.
now, kids, I know a lot of kids now, they're not even in the NBA yet. They make $6-7 million a year. Well, there's NBA player barely make $4 million a year. Like, and you know, this kid haven't proved anything yet in the league. He's playing in different league. He just have a potential that he might be good. Well, okay, it's great to get paid for the potential, but what's the motivation for him right now? What's in it for him right now to come and kill himself and to show that I'm gonna be someone? So, which is also another subject we'll talk about later, culture and how to build culture in the NBA teams. NBA teams, their favorite word always is how to build culture. And it's one of the hardest things
Mhm.
because it take years, it take a lot of people, it take in all departments, from the player to the coaches to the front office. So it take a lot to build culture, because later when you pick up your players who you want to draft or want to join the team, he should match your culture.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about that more in the future, but definitely that's a hot topic. Uh, I don't know, you probably have good ideas about how to solve this problem, but it's still ongoing problem.
No, it's such an interesting topic, and it just opens up so many other deeper questions, right? Like about society and about, the business aspect of the sport. And yeah,
Yes.
I think you're right. I don't want to go off tangent. We've already
Yeah.
gone off
Yes.
so much, but I think it's a good foreshadow that we've actually got a lot to dig into over the next however long we're doing this, which I hope will be a long time. All right, let's get back to the game.
Yep.
Um, uh, what I noticed, and we talked about a little bit, is how it really did feel like the Spurs were dominating, but controlling. I'm not going to say dominating, controlling for the first three quarters, and then as soon as Jordan Clarkson came in and hit those two threes right at the beginning of the fourth, Knicks took their first lead, and really it felt like that momentum shifted. And what I was thinking, um, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, is like what what do, not the NBA but abroad, or coaches, or whoever like is in that sort of authority position, coaches, let's say, how do they try to prepare players on how to deal with that momentum shift when you're on the negative side, right? When you're like, when you go up, you've got the momentum, you can
Yeah.
just ride that wave. But it's like from a mental perspective, from like a physical perspective, how do you what are players told to do, or how do they prepare for those moments in terms of like, okay, we just lost the momentum, what do we do to either get it back or at least just stop the bleeding?
Man, I love your questions. I mean, that's such a great question. People a lot of time, don't pay attention to. Okay, you just see a player coming in and do something crazy, but it's really not a coincidence. So I'll say it first from a coaching or staff
Mhm.
perspective, and then we'll move as a player perspective. So coaches and staff, and especially with great communication with the front office, you have to know each player you have, what's his exact role in the team. Like, I brought Mike for the team. I know exactly what his role. I know exactly when do I need him, what value he bring to the team. And also great way to let the player know why you're here. Listen, you might like, especially like, let's talk about Jordan Clarkson for this specific point. When he was brought to the team, he know that you're gonna be coming off the bench. You are a scorer. You're a type of player who's fiery and aggressive and go to the basket. So you here for this exact qualities you have. There's sometimes where we're gonna need someone, because you have your weapon. You have Brunson, you have OG Ononobi, you have all these players, but you need to know as a coach that someday it's not working. Some days just not working. Like they not it's not their day, something not going right. So you need someone to change everything that nobody really was thinking about it. And I think that's exactly what happened. To have that depth in their bench players, who I think they are the one who came and changed the whole game, couple of threes here and there, and couple of hustle plays. So I think it shows that the Knicks really knew what they were doing a little bit ago when they start to add those pieces. You
Mhm.
don't, you don't always go and look for the big superstar or a big 3-point shooter. You need like a card you can have in your pocket, and whenever you need it, you just throw it and make a big difference. Now, take it to the player point of view perspective. You gotta know first of all why I'm here. A lot of players before they come to the NBA, they are scorers. They are like, just like completely offensive player. But you gotta know, okay, I'm not starting here. My job here is not to score, maybe to play some more defense. My job was when nobody's hitting a three, to make a really deadly three right there. So as a player, the more you are in good communication with your coaches and the staff, and your agent, by the way, play a huge role in this, and your trainer, because once you know why I'm here for, in the summer I'll be working on it. If you want a 3-point shot from me and my trainer in the summer working on the clock down. I'm like tied in the corner, and they just pass it to me, and I have to make it 100 times this day. So when it happened in the game, I'm not under the pressure. Now again, a lot of players were like, "I don't care about this. Give me my money, and when you need me, call me." But I think that shows. maturity and shows that teams will be a contender. Those stuff shows if the team is contender or not. And I think the Knicks showed a lot of good quality in this game. Again, there is always room for improvement. It's just a NBA Cup, but I think they got a good test for the cards they have, for their bench, and for their strategy overall. So I hope that answered your question. I try to
Yeah,
make it
no,
clear.
for sure. No, I think it does, and yeah, I mean, that was one note I made at the end, which is like the classic storyline here is that experience won out over youth, right? Like
Yeah.
they figured out they're more mature, they've been together longer, and that's what grounded out. I think there's the other take you can have, which is like if Wemby was not on a minutes restriction, they actually very much could have won this game.
I
So
mean, probably. I don't think probably it will be. But I don't know if you know this, but Wimby lost his grandma before the game too.
oh no, I did not know
And
that.
yeah, and he was very emotional after the game, also at the press conference. So I think that count for him.
Yeah,
I really respect him for that. He's still young, man. This kid, I, I don't respect him just because how his size and everything. His mentality, man, is awesome. Like,
mhm.
we saw what he did in the summer. We saw how he go to KG and Hakeem Olajuwon and all these players. He liked to learn. He liked to be a sponge. Teach me. Yell at me. He was like, do whatever it takes to teach me, and I'm ready to do it. And for him to show up, he had slow start, which is, I think it's okay. He's still learning. He's gonna learn from those type of games. You want him to have slow start and then have to pick up himself and do something much better later. I think one thing he did not really good at the end, he went back to the old Wimby first year in the NBA where he just want to jack those shots and try to get the game quickly and put the score down quickly. No, no, no. That's come with experience. I don't need three-point shot back to back to get back to the game. I can, score a basket, make a stop, score a basket, make stop, make a second stop, miss a basket, take two free throw, kill the rhythm. There's too many ways to get back to the game. But overall, I think he did few moves and stuff showed you that man, the game is going somewhere else. The
Oh yeah,
game we know from back in the days, it's completely changing. Uh, I love Wimby. I respect him. At the end, he's international player, so I root for him. But uh, I think, like you said, experience played a huge role. The Spurs didn't lack of energy, didn't lack of passion to win. Man, Harper, Dylan
Mm.
Harper. Man, when I saw him I told you that when we were having coffee together. When I saw him at the draft, I was looking at him like, really? I was like, he's probably here just because of his dad, but man, he's far away from this. He got hard. He's a scorer, man. He got a basket, and he's got like what, four threes too at the same
Yeah,
time.
he had 21 points. He was the highest scorer actually for the Spurs.
Man,
Um,
that was great. And he was fun to watch.
it was fun to watch.
One specific play will show you what type of player he is. When he scored a 3-point, I think, and then he stole the ball from Brunson. A
Mhm.
lot of young kids will be
Yeah,
celebrating and doing all the kind of type of stuff. He was there. He was there. He got the ball, and I think I want to say this because I always like to give an insight about stuff that people don't really know about. And I think over the podcast, over those upcoming years, hopefully, I will keep share some stuff that people don't know, but people from behind the scene in the NBA knows. What I need people to know is in the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs are, you can say, the godfather of the league.
mhm.
If you are an NBA organization, you have a problem, you pick up the phone and call the Spurs. What would you do if you have the same problem? We're having this problem. How would you deal with it? Or like you dealt with this problem before. What did you do? Teach me. So the Spurs always known, and I think Popovich created that type of culture. I had people who sit in the meeting with him, and he always say, every idea is a great idea. Don't be scared to share information and communicate. So he's strict, but he's at the same time very open minded. He create the culture where doesn't matter who you are, you gotta fit this culture and be a great person before you be a great player.
Mhm.
And it shows. It shows with the coaching staff. I forgot his name. The new coach. What was his name?
Mitch Johnson. Yeah, I did want to
Man,
talk
I
about
really
him.
like him too. So and he was Bobovich for a while. So the players who play with the Spurs, the way the Spurs approached the game, I think it showed in the final cup. Now again, all of them are young kids. All of them, has huge room for improvement. But also we gonna see how the Spurs front office deal with having too many guards. That's
Mhm.
something coming into the trade deadline later, January, February. So you want to see, okay, I have those assets. How can I use it? Who really should stay to add more value and how I can rotate my positioning. But overall, man, I have huge respect to the Spurs. For a team to get to the final of the cup at this age, they missed Wimby a lot of games. We keep this in mind. Wimby wasn't there the whole time. Castle is such a great offensive player, man, and he's an offensive player, and he got 10 assists last game. So
Mhm.
it shows you the team love each other. That the chemistry is there. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a lot waiting for them for their future.
Yeah, no, they're very exciting. They've got that sort of OKC young dogs feel. They're gritty. They fight for each
Which
possession.
is, I want to ask you this question from someone who know the game and been watching and been on multiple side of the game. Do you think we are about to witness a new era of teams like the Spurs on OKC, where bunch of young kids going crazy at it. Yes, they have one superstar, one big superstar, but then bunch of like, another stars in the rise and role players. I think that's what those teams tell you. What's your opinion of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bound to happen, right? Who I feel Steph and LeBron had been carrying the league for a while. They've been the faces. They're still the faces. They still bring in the crowds more than anybody else. Um, and I think as they've been aging the last few years, the NBA has really been looking for that next face, and that face only comes with winning, right?
Right,
Like, you could be the best player, but if you're not winning, you're not making it to the playoffs, you're not getting those national games in, and that's not good for the game.
right,
Um, and I think like that's something which I really hated in terms of a discussion point last year about the finals, how they kept going on about the viewership that no one knew who these two teams, and it was I really disliked it because Halliburton. If you follow the NBA, you know who he is. If you follow the
right, right,
NBA, you know who Shea is and Chet, and you know why
right,
OKC
right,
is so important. But to the average fan, no. And that's where I feel with Wemby coming up, with OKC already holding the championship, it is opening up that next era of rivalries in the NBA, which is needed. And I really love the fact that these are teams that have been built, that have been homegrown. This is not.
100%.
I feel like we had a rough we had a rough time, maybe in the last 5 years between, I don't know if it was between COVID and before COVID and afterwards a little bit, where there was just these superstars jumping teams and chasing championships. And it all started with Durant. Well, depending how far back you want to go, it started with LeBron
Sure.
going to the Heat. We don't,
Right.
we don't, we don't want to go down that path. But like, I'm very happy when I see, and I feel it's consistent, like it's the Bucks won. Giannis was in that system consistently, and they ended up getting it. Denver, they drafted Jokic. They built around him. They brought in Murray. They grew. They lost in the playoffs a bunch of times. Now OKC, and now we're seeing the Spurs, and I love that. You know what I mean? I like that parity in the NBA. I like to see these young teams coming up. don't get me wrong. You can see my Warriors cap back there. I was in the Bay Area for the three championships, and
You
like,
were there for the
oh
championships?
yeah, man, I was there.
Wow, the city is upside down,
Oh
probably.
my god, I went to the I went to the set the game that Kevin Durant won their first championship. So I think that was I forgot 2018 or
Wow,
something.
good
Um,
for you.
yeah, no, that was a special time, and but nonetheless, right? It was like
Right.
again, if you're on the winning side, it's fun. But if you're anyone else in the league, if you're not Cleveland or Golden State, it's like this is getting pretty boring.
Yeah.
So
The other
um,
day I was watching the Gill Arena,
yeah,
and they were talking about how is the Warriors without Kevin Durant, they wouldn't be that big dynasty, and he's the one who changed that, or he just enhanced it and make it better. And they were a dynasty regardless. So I'm not gonna get a
yeah,
war
no,
of words with anybody, but I'm
no.
just I'm just
I'll, I'll just
mentioning
I'll just make the point that they've won two championships without Kevin Durant and two with him. So
before and after.
let's
Yes.
call it even. Let's call it even.
Wow, you're a Warriors fan. I got you.
Oh gosh. Um wow, this is fun, man. This is very fun.
This
Okay.
is great.
There was well, if we just there's one thing I wanted to ask you because I think it's also relevant to what you're doing. Mitch Johnson is 39 years old.
Mhm.
And I find that awesome. And I guess my question is to you, are there more opportunities now for younger coaches than there were, let's say, 10, 20 years ago? Like I think if we went back to like the 90s, all coaches, I think this goes for multiple sports, not just the NBA, but you know, 50s is probably where you'd expect to see a coach. Now we're seeing this guy, coming in, and a lot of the top coaches in the NBA really are young. What is that? What is that about? Because you think like age equals experience, which equals success. But now we're seeing these young coaches having a lot of success. Again, also in the NFL and football and soccer. Um, what is that scene now for coaches? Why do you think that younger coaches with less experience are actually experiencing that type of success?
Um, Man, I don't know where you bring all these good questions from, but good for you, man. Now I know why you are with that big resume. So, honestly, that's something I noticed like 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I started joining NBA, but from the other side, from behind the scene. Not only coaches, but also, if you notice, general managers too.
Yeah.
Usually, like you said, either a coach or a general manager is a person with many, many years of experience, 50s, 60s. There's people in 70s still work in the NBA, and but we just talked about how the game become more young, and how those teams are more like new generation, young blood. I think having a young coach help understand more the young generation better,
Mhm.
have the same fire those kids have. So that's also, I think, a huge plus. um I don't see it in a bad way. Like, if you look at it, it changed. We used to see an older head coach with a bunch of young
Mhm.
assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Now it's a young head coach with
Yeah.
bunch of older assistant coaches,
So
which is
true.
which is probably that suit the situation better. We
Mhm.
need the young blood, you need the young mentality, you need the new word, the new life mentality. But then here's all the experience in the word sitting right next to you. uh, I like it. I mean, I like to consider myself young, so I'm happy with that movement. I never wanted to be a coach, but I always wanted to be a general manager at some point, and it feels like NBA or sports in general, trusting the new mindset and the young mindset to build the future of the league. Because also, those young coaches, they're not really young. They not just came out of nowhere. They've been spending time with coaches who have a great, great resume. Um, if I would say one thing, uh, bringing those young coaches also, it's not easy always to find someone young but with a lot of experience. And here where the NBA come and be like, you know what, we have programs to
Mhm.
prepare you to be an NBA coach, and then you go work under somebody's wing to gain the experience. But by the age of 39, 40, 40 some, you're ready to take over. I mean, Joe Mazzulla, which is one of my favorite coaches. He's one of the few coaches left in the league who's still strict, who's still like, yell. And I like that, because you need to create that fire and discipline mentality. Not everybody can take it, and it's not for everybody for sure nowadays. Now, your kids, you can't yell to your kids anymore. So imagine a player getting paid $50 million a year. So you look at him, he started at the young age. He'd been around a lot of great coaches, and I think he's great on his own right now. So I think it's a great move. It's necessary move at some point. Um, I feel like the NBA, because it's the NBA, they don't miss on anything. So if there is a need now for younger coaches, there is going to be a younger coaches.
Mhm.
But again, for people who always wonder, like how, which is we can talk about later, how to become a coach or how to become, get to those opportunities. There's a lot of programs the NBA provide. It's not easy. It's not like for everyone, but there is a way to make it there and learn from the experts themselves, let's say. Which is later in the future we can dedicate episodes if how how to work in the NBA, for example. What are my options? And if you are a player, how can I get myself in position to be able to play in the league? So hopefully those are topics we can talk about in the future, will help the players get,
Mhm.
to where they want, but help the people who, I worked sometimes back in the days with Chicago Basketball Academy, and we were focusing on teaching the kids that you probably not a 7 footer, you probably not like, can jump out of the building, but you're probably really good with money, and you can work in the salary cap area. You're probably really good with marketing. You're probably really good with media. So the NBA, it's not playing on courts only nowadays. And if you have a passion for the game, if you think you can bring something to the table, there is a multiple way and avenues to get to that point.
No, I think that's such a big benefit of this podcast and bringing on those experts, in addition to players, scouts, coaches, trainers. Like again, all good opportunities for someone, because yeah, not everyone's going to be a player. There's a limited number of slots, but doesn't mean you can't keep being part of something that you want to be part of just in a different way. And I think that's really what
100%.
you represent here, and I think that's awesome. All right.
Thank you.
I want to be cognizant of time,
Yes.
and I wanted to try this out because there's a lot of fans out there, and they've got questions for you. So I picked a couple. So I'll just go through them, and let's see. These are questions for you, and let's get started. The first question is from a college player wondering about his future. His question is, I'm playing college ball and I'm solid, but I'm not a star. How do you honestly know if you're good enough to keep chasing a pro career?
Wow, what a tough question.
That's a that's a tough one. I wanted to,
That's a
let's
tough
start strong.
question, and it's a common question. We all been there. All the greats been there.
Hmm.
All the people always had like doubts. Is this for me? I remember Brunson. He said when he played with Luca for the first time in Dallas, he was like, "Wow, this is like 18 years old kids coming like this. Am I in the right place?" And that's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
So it's okay to always wonder. And if you belong or not. But this is definitely not a one or two word answer.
Mhm.
It goes a lot behind it. Uh, if I'll tell you anything, it goes two ways. First of all, from one side, you gotta have a belief. You gotta be strong and confident, and know if you really wanna commit to this or not, because it's not gonna be sweet and easy all the way along. Now, on the court, I would say go through your skills. See what's my best skill really? Like, am I really deadly shooter? Am I really deadly defender? Am I really, really good scorer? Like, what's my really strength? And if you find that you have one quality that can be superior, I would say you have a chance.
Hmm.
Now again, nobody knows how the future plays. A lot of people think like I'm gonna quit the game. What's his name? Spencer and the Warriors. He was in a completely different sports like
Yeah.
a few years ago. So, but if I want to be like solid on paper, let's say, go through your skills, see what do I really have. Do I have at least one skills I can be really, really good at it? If you do, you have a chance. This now the time of the league is where role players have a huge potential. And if you're really good at something and you can build on it and excel in it, I think you will have a chance. But other than that, you also gotta have a belief and read what's going on in your life. And then but also that's a chance to something we'll talk about later. A lot of people think college NBA, that's it. No, it's not. That's it. There is a whole another world waiting for you on the other side of the world. There's a lot of countries and leagues. You're a superstar over there. You come back with a lot of experience and you get to live your dream too. So that's always a potential. Doesn't mean if you don't play in the NBA, oh, you're not good, or your dream is over. You think out of the box. And I'm happy, to answer more questions in
Mhm.
specific or on how can I go overseas, for example. Maybe we'll have an episode on that.
No, absolutely. What a great answer, man. What a great answer. I think like
Mhm.
a lot of other professions, right? Find your niche, find what you're good at, and build on that, and that's going to give you your best. Don't try to be everything. It's like by trying to do everything right, you're doing
Nothing.
nothing
You
right.
know, nothing.
you
Yes.
know?
So true.
Excellent, man. All right. Well, I think that's it for this one. I know we've got a few guests coming up in 2026. I don't know if you want to mention that. I know we've talked about Craig Hodges, 3-point champion for the Chicago Bulls coming. That's exciting. Anybody else you want to highlight for 2026?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Speaking about bringing experts, not only as a player, also as front office scouts and people who've been with big names. We're hoping to have Kevin Greavy, hopefully, in an episode in the upcoming few, let's say, weeks to month. Um, Maybe younger generation don't know really who Kevin Greavy, but he's one of the people who shaped the NBA and sport in general in the United States. He'd been in every aspect of the game. He was a player. He was a great player. He was an all-star, and then he went to front office. He was a scout, and then he called game and college games, and he was on the radio, on TV. He's everything, and he's my godfather for me. So hopefully we're gonna have him too. Like we said, uh, the challenge is always to have great people, so we can't have everyone in person. So we're gonna have more remotely episodes, which is easier and more fun. And like I said, it's not gonna be only sharing a story and just to get to know the person and learn about it. It's how to put all those expert in service for all the young generation who are chasing their dream, to give advice, to give a blueprint, or at least give an ear to listen to question and thoughts the people have. So it's coming along with you in it and everybody been in it so far. I think we will deliver.
Oh, it's gonna be a big year, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. You have plans for the holidays? You sticking around, or what do you got going on?
It's a lot. It's a lot going on. But no travel. I think this year, so gonna stay low key. Celebrate. I love this time of the year, but it's also cold, so it's a good time for a little cigar and a little coffee and
Nice.
stuff. So that's me.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm sticking around as well. I got one Wizards game coming up against the Suns on the 29th. But besides
Okay.
that, yeah, we'll be around. Maybe we squeeze in a Wizards episode as well at some point. We gotta
We need to.
we
We
gotta
need to.
pay respect to the local team, and they could use your help. I think Z. They could
They
use
can use any help. They could use any help. I think. Um, it's good to have an episode about the wizard at some point, just to show that how we always talk about the team who win and the team who do everything. So what about the team in the middle, or the team who's like, trying to rebuild? So we'll talk about it, how the fans need to know NBA, it's not like only one level of a team. There's a team who are contenders, team who are trying to be contenders, and team who are rebuilding.
Yeah.
And that goes with a lot of things. So maybe the Wizards deserve somehow a chance
Oh
to
yeah. No,
talk about.
I'll say one point on that because I made this point to a friend the other day. I used to have season tickets to the Wizards. All right, so we were following them. The year when it was, I think it was Beal's last year. Porzingis was still on the team. Kuzma was still doing all right. It was like, again, they were sort of contending for a spot in the play-in tournament, but whatever. That was the last time. But I remember how we used to follow the schedule closely, and the two teams that we knew we were going to beat, or we had the best chance of beating, was the Orlando Magic and the Detroit
Sean.
Pistons. Okay,
Okay.
Charlotte, Charlotte as well, but those two. And now it's like whatever 3 years later, and look at those two teams.
Look at the
the Magic
Pistons. Oh
and
my
look at the Pistons,
goodness.
man. Like there is hope, like that is. It all comes down, as you know, about to development and patience and the front office. Honestly, like again, there's so much to talk about there, but it's also like sticking with it, making the right decisions, bringing in the right coach at the right time. So, I mean, I hope we're saying the same thing about the Wizards in 3 years. Who knows?
I
But
hope so.
time will tell.
If I get the job, you will.
Okay. All right. I mean, this is great. This is a great first
All right,
episode. Thanks
Mike.
for having me. And yeah, we'll see you the next time.
Man, thank you for being part of the family. Welcome again. And man, already like our first episode together, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we have a lot to talk about.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're gonna need a little bit more of your time whenever it's possible,
I'm
but it's
ready.
gonna be fun.
I'm ready.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Habibi. I'll
you.
see you next time.